Of all the disturbing facts surrounding the Titanic disaster, few are more shocking than this. While the ship was sinking, many lifeboats left partially empty. Not nearly full, or that they were not packed to capacity but partially empty. In some cases, dramatically so. This was not discovered decades later. It happened in real time, and both officers, passengers, and crew members saw it. Yet boat after boat descended toward the Atlantic carrying dozens fewer people than it could safely hold. Meanwhile, more than 1,500 people would eventually die. How was this possible? Did the crew make catastrophic mistakes? Did class prejudice influence evacuation? Were passengers too frightened to board? Did nobody realize the danger? Or does the answer reveal something deeper about human behavior during disasters? Today, we investigate one of the most tragic mysteries of Titanic. A mystery involving psychology, leadership, uncertainty, and decisions made under extraordinary pressure, because the story of Titanic's lifeboats is not merely a story about empty seats. It is a story about how intelligent people can fail to recognize catastrophe while living through it. Titanic carried approximately 2,200 people, passengers and crew combined. The ship possessed 20 lifeboats. Their total capacity was roughly 1,178 people. Even under ideal circumstances, there were not enough boats for everyone. This fact has become one of the most famous aspects of the disaster. Yet another number receives far less attention. Only about 700 people survived. Think about what that means. Titanic had lifeboat space for more than 1,100 people. Yet only around 700 survived. Hundreds of potential places remained unused. Not enough to save everyone, but enough to save many more. The difference between capacity and survival represents one of the greatest lost opportunities in maritime history. The first reason lifeboats left partially empty is surprisingly simple. Most passengers did not believe they were in immediate danger. This may sound unbelievable today, but remember what they saw. The ship remained brightly illuminated. The decks remained mostly level. The orchestra would continue playing and stewards remained calm. Crew members gave instructions in orderly fashion. There were no towering waves crashing over the decks. No dramatic explosions and no scenes resembling Hollywood disaster films. Titanic looked safe, and appearances matter enormously during emergencies. Human beings often trust what they can see, not what they are told. Modern psychologists use a term called normalcy bias. It refers to our tendency to assume that tomorrow will resemble today. When something unprecedented occurs, many people initially reject the possibility. They seek reassuring explanations, they downplay threats and delay action. Titanic provides one of history's most powerful examples. Passengers had boarded a ship celebrated as extraordinarily safe. Many simply could not imagine it sinking, even after being told to enter lifeboats and after seeing crew preparations. Even after feeling the collision, their mind resisted the conclusion. This was not stupidity, it was human psychology, and human psychology proved deadly. The earliest lifeboats encountered an unexpected problem of not overcrowding but undercrowding. Officers struggled to find passengers willing to leave the ship. Imagine the situation. You are standing aboard the largest passenger vessel on Earth. It is warm, stable, and brightly lit. Then someone asks you to climb into a small open boat and descend into freezing darkness. Many people declined, some laughed, and others questioned the necessity. Some preferred returning to their cabins. From their perspective, remaining aboard seemed rational. Only later would it become clear that the truly dangerous place was the ship itself. One common misconception is that Titanic's officers immediately understood the scale of the disaster. The reality was more complicated. Information arrived gradually as damage assessments evolved and time estimates changed. Even experienced officers faced uncertainty. They knew the ship was in danger, but exactly how much danger? Exactly how much time remained? Those questions were not immediately clear. This uncertainty influenced lifeboat operations. When leaders lack complete information, decisions become far more difficult, and uncertainty often encourages caution, including caution about loading lifeboats to maximum capacity. One of the least understood factors involves engineering concerns. Titanic's lifeboats hung more than 70 feet above the ocean. Officers worried about the lowering process. Could the davits handle fully loaded boats? Would cables snap? Would a heavily loaded lifeboat strike the ship side? Would equipment fail? Remember, these men were operating under emergency conditions. They had never conducted a real evacuation of a vessel this size. Many officers chose conservative loading levels. The irony is heartbreaking. Attempts to avoid one potential catastrophe may have contributed to another. The famous phrase, "women and children first," sounds straightforward. On Titanic, it was anything but. Different officers interpreted the principle differently. Some viewed it as women and children only. Others viewed it as women and children first, then men if space remains. This difference mattered enormously. At certain locations, men were prevented from boarding despite available space. At others, men entered partially filled boats after women and children nearby had already boarded. The result was inconsistency, and inconsistency creates confusion, and confusion creates delay, and delay creates tragedy. Edwardian society placed enormous value on dignity and self-control. Public displays of fear were often discouraged, and social expectations influenced behavior. Many passengers wished to appear calm, reasonable, and composed. Some hesitated to rush toward lifeboats while others worried about embarrassing themselves. This may sound strange today, yet social pressure remains one of the most powerful forces shaping human behavior, especially in uncertain situations. People often look to others for cues. If everyone appears calm, danger seems less urgent. Titanic's evacuation occurred within this psychological environment. Any serious discussion must address third-class passengers. Survival rates varied dramatically among social classes. Third-class passengers faced significant disadvantages: language barriers, unfamiliar ship layouts, distance from boat decks, and limited access to information. Historians continue debating specific details, but the broader reality is clear. Many third-class passengers reached lifeboat areas later than first-class passengers. By then, opportunities were shrinking rapidly. This contributed to one of the most controversial aspects of the disaster. A tragedy shaped not only by the ocean but by social structure. Throughout the evacuation, many people believed another ship was nearby. Lights appeared visible on the horizon, passengers discussed them, crew members noticed them, and hope spread. Perhaps rescue was close and the situation was temporary. Perhaps lifeboats represented only a short transfer before help arrived. False hope can be surprisingly dangerous. When people believe rescue is imminent, urgency declines. The perception of danger changes and decisions change accordingly. No example better illustrates the tragedy than Lifeboat No. 1. Capacity: approximately 40 people. Occupants: about 12. The image remains difficult to comprehend. A boat capable of carrying dozens more drifting away from a sinking ship. Historians have debated this moment endlessly. Was it poor leadership, poor communication, or poor judgment? The answer is probably all of these and more. Titanic's disaster did not emerge from one mistake. It emerged from many small mistakes interacting simultaneously. Eventually, the illusion ended. The angle of the ship increased. The ocean became impossible to ignore. People finally understood that Titanic was dying, but by then, many lifeboats had already departed. The tragedy reveals a fundamental truth about human perception. People often respond slowly to gradual change, especially when change threatens deeply held assumptions. Titanic had been presented as safe. Passengers wanted to believe it remained safe. Reality eventually won, but reality arrived too late. Historians continue debating exact figures. Precise calculations vary, yet the conclusion remains unavoidable. Hundreds of additional lives might have been saved if lifeboats had been filled more effectively. Not everyone would have been saved, though. The shortage of boats remained a major problem. But many more would have been saved. Each empty seat represented possibility. A father, daughter, crew member, or a friend. A future that never happened. That is why the empty seats remain so haunting. They symbolize not merely tragedy but preventable tragedy. Titanic transformed maritime safety, regulations changed, lifeboat requirements expanded, training improved, and emergency drills became more rigorous, but perhaps the most important lesson involved psychology. Disaster planners realized that human beings often underestimate danger. They delay, hesitate, and seek confirmation. Effective emergency systems must account for these tendencies. The story of Titanic's lifeboats helped reshape how modern organizations think about evacuation. The lessons were purchased at terrible cost, but they were learned. Why were Titanic's lifeboats half empty? Because passengers underestimated danger and officers lacked perfect information. Because procedures were untested and social expectations influenced behavior. Because hope delayed action and human beings are not always rational during crises. The answer is not a single mistake. It is a chain of understandable decisions that produced an unimaginable outcome. More than a century later, the empty seats remain one of the most haunting images from the disaster. Not because they reveal villainy, but because they reveal humanity. Our tendency to trust appearances and our reluctance to accept bad news. Our belief that normal life will continue until suddenly, it doesn't. Titanic sank in the early hours of April 15, 1912. The ship is gone and the passengers are gone. The lifeboats are gone, yet the lesson remains. Sometimes the greatest tragedies are not caused by what we do. They are caused by what we fail to recognize until it is too late. If you are enjoying this deep dive and want more captivating, thoroughly researched videos like this, consider subscribing. I post in-depth documentaries that separate evidence from speculation and explore stories you won't hear in a typical news report. The series continues, and our next video will feature the title, "In the Titanic Disaster."